go. All right. E equals mc squared is probably one of the most important mathematical equations ever created. It was created by none other than Albert Einstein. The E equals mc squared equation helped us bring together two separate categories of science, mass and energy. It helped us understand that, in broad terms, they're really just the same. Today I will inform you about Albert Einstein and what he did for science, and some important inventions he made along the way. For credit, I did about 1 week of research. So I'm going to start at the beginning. He was born in Weyertenberg, Germany on March 14, 1879. His dad, Hermann, was a salesman and then eventually became a manager of an electrochemical factory. His mother, Pauline, was head of the household, so she just took care of the children, which of course include Albert Einstein and his sister, Maria. Up until the age of 12, he based most of his beliefs on God, like most of us do, but after he found some scientific texts, he based most of his beliefs on that and contradicted his already religious beliefs. He started asking important questions, such as, where does light come from? How does it travel? Which later he got a Nobel Prize for. He eventually ran away from a boarding school that his parents put him in, and he enrolled in the Swiss Federal Polytechnic School. He of course excelled in math and physics, but failed miserably at chemistry, English, and biology. But since he was good at math and physics, he was able to graduate. Eventually he got to the lowest point in his life where he had no job, he had no help from his family, and he could not marry his then girlfriend, Merrick. Now that I've told you about the lowest point in his life, I'm going to transition into the most important year of science, called Einstein's miracle year. During this year, he wrote 5 scientific papers, all of which changed the world of science forever. Like I said, he didn't have a job, he couldn't even be a tutor, but eventually his friend gave him a job as a clerk, and if you know anything about being a clerk, you just don't really do a lot. So with all this time on his hands, he began to think and theorize. He came up with 5 different theories, all of which became scientific papers, and like I said, changed the world of science forever. The first 2 papers were on something called the Brownian motion. The first described how to measure particles, and the second described how to measure how they moved, like the direction in which they go. Both papers help prove the existence of atoms, which, of course you know, is probably one of the most important particles ever. His third paper was on the quantum theory of light. He described it as lights did not exist in waves, but rather pockets called photons. After that, in the same paper, he helped describe the movement of electrons from solid objects, kind of like a TV, and then the light projected is, of course, the movie you're watching. This got him the Nobel Prize, and they named it the photoelectric effect. His fourth paper was on the theory of relativity. Now, most of you know it, but in his terms, time and motion are relative to the observer. So an example would be, if 2 people were playing ping pong on a fast-moving train, they observe it as the ping pong just moving as fast as they hit it across the table. But in actuality, they're moving just as fast as the train are, because they're on the train. Like I stated before, he wrote 5 scientific papers. Of course, his most important was over the relationship between energy and mass, E equals mc squared. One of my sources said, mass is energy and energy is mass. The equation that Einstein wrote builds a bridge between the 2 completely different domains. It helps us understand that the bigger the mass of the object, the more energy it has. And it later became the foundation for nuclear physics. And fun fact, the amount of energy produced from the atomic bomb, called the little boy, was only ½ a gram. So, yeah. He later invented the Einstein refrigerator, because the current refrigerators at the time, they'd often not function and break, and they would leak toxic chemicals and gases and such, which could harm the family. So with his partner, Leo Szilard, they made a fridge that had no moving parts, and within the fridge they also invented the gas absorption heat pump. but unfortunately it never sold, and all that hard work was for nothing. So in conclusion, I hope that you've learned a lot about Albert Einstein's story, how there was a bunch of twists and turns in his childhood, but at his lowest point, he eventually gave us one of the greatest years known to science. His miracle year, in which he wrote the 5 papers, thrusted us forward into how we are today. Overall, his story has inspired not only me, but probably, most definitely, millions of others to go about and change the world. Thank you.
That was real.